Oh, dude, people are so mad over this. People are just seething at the statement that Joe Biden is the most pro-union president of our lifetime. Maybe someone should inform Vosh Biden blocked railroad workers from striking to help himself politically. He did that? Wow, I'm just hearing this for the first time. I don't know how anyone respects your opinion when you're constantly telling yourself you have no idea what you're talking about. With regards to the recent NLRB DOT deal behavior, can you name the most recent that have done more for unions than Biden's? This is literally the same argument conservatives make when they say Trump, quote, didn't start any wars, Lamau. Would you mind answering the question? I said Biden's the most pro-union president of our lifetime, and you said I didn't know what I'm talking about, so I assume you have another recent presidential administration in mind that's done more. My labor-crushing president did less labor-crushing than yours. By the way, it only counts during the last 4 years when he's president. Comrade Biden was operating in a well-substantiated intel that the rail union was a Trotskyist cell and did what had to be done. It's like, it's people are just furious at this statement, but obviously, like, they can't counter it. So there's no, like, yeah, so they're mad. And you're saying this person, Jordan Chariton, a former reporter for the TYT network, filed a $23 million lawsuit against Huffington Post on Wednesday, alleging he was fired after the site published a libelous post accusing him of interesting, fascinating, one might even say. Chariton says the sexual assault allegations were fabricated by bitter coworkers in order to destroy his career. He also faults Huffington Post for indexing the article on Google News, which boosted its visibility. Okay, well, let's see the article. Might be a bit of a what do they call it when you want to remove an image from the internet, but it just makes it more popular? They call the Streisand effect. That's it. That's right. Oh, it was taken down for a Huffington Post, but then republished on a different website? What? Oh, there's like a whole drama here. Holy shit. Cenk Uygur, the CEO of TYT, announced on TYT that Chariton was fired for using company resources to launch Truth Against the Machine and for admitting to having a sexual relationship with a subordinate. Okay, so outside of the allegations, Keffel's covered it in her TYT video essay. Really? I gotta watch that. Emma Vigeland was hired by TYT as Jordan Chariton's intern. She spent months driving around the country with him. Uh-oh. Emma called Chariton a total creep on the Majority Report. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Are we seeing yet more confirmation that everyone who dislikes me is a rapist and a pedophile? Uh-oh. You know, this specific instance aside, I feel like I have talked so many times, like over and over and over again, to the point where I feel like it's tiresome, but I have to keep saying it because it's still true. Like, the left is so obsessed with coming off as not liberal that they will deny reality to, like, look at this. Here's another person complaining about me. He can't be serious. And I say, that's right, Jack. And then he says, okay, but do you think Biden is pro-union or just technically not as bad as the other presidents? What the did this title say? What are we... The title says, Joe Biden is the most pro-union president of our lifetime. And then he's like, well, do you mean like he's pro-union or just or is he just the most pro-union president for, like, it's so strange. Do you mean what you said or do you mean this other thing? By the way, I do think Biden is pro-union. I think both of these things are true. I think that he's pro-union within the context of, like, the presidency. And I think that a good way of substantiating that is that the Biden administration is getting praise from unions all around the country. Like, there are so many unions that are speaking praise of Biden's administration right now because of all the work that his administration has done to make it easier to unionize and all the support that he's offered. So, like, yeah, I think that's fine. Obviously, he's not like a hyper-militant labor advocate or whatever. Yeah, goddamn, this is just from yesterday. Hyperbole is one of your favorite toys, Vosh? I'm not being hyperbolic here. Are all unions good? I mean, not police unions. And the media is touching none of it. That's because media is owned by like 3 gigantic conglomerates that are run by billionaires. Obviously, they're not going to run pro-union propaganda. I think this position was fine because Obama was the most pro-union president for 30 years, but you wouldn't call him pro-union, so it's fine to clarify your position. Sure, was Obama more pro-union than... Obama was not great, man. Was Obama more pro-union than Clinton? Yeah, I guess he'd have to be. Like, Clinton was really, really bad. Yeah, I guess. But yeah, no, I like, the stuff with Biden is unique. I think that you could easily make the case, if nothing else, that Biden's administration is shaping up to be at least the second most pro-union presidency in American history. I mean, we can argue about FDR, and FDR stuff. The FDR stuff is complicated, you know, historical circumstances and all. Yeah, I mean, I've talked so many times about the left having this, like, cosmopolitan champagne socialist obsession with aesthetics and distinguishing themselves from liberals. which is mega cucked. But I think it's really important to remember. You guys, okay, you guys know how a lot of socialists have said like, Western socialists are all champagne socialists. Really, the third world that will get this done or whatever. Those like BRICS, Maoist, third worldist types. You know what I'm talking about? The problem is like, I don't think that argument is true. I do think that like the online Western left is essentially just like controlled opposition. And I really mean it. Like, not all of them are controlled in the sense they're literally being paid, though there is plenty of that. There are plenty of people who associate themselves with the left who are literally just getting money to lie, right? Like Jimmy Dore, Hinkle types or whatever. But like the general ideological disposition of online leftists is one that makes it impossible for there to be any actual step or movement forward. Because even if like a socialist got in charge, they do realize that like changing isn't a snap your fingers moment, right? Like even if Bernie Sanders, or even if some like Cornel West, though I don't care as much for him, or even if some like radical leftist got in charge, you don't snap your fingers and fix everything. Obviously, as is the case with like every socialist who have ever run a government ever, you don't just instantly create socialism. You work within the system and you take advantage of the material resources that you have and the political will that you have and blah, blah. Yeah, people are saying the squad has sold out. Lefties have already abandoned Bernie because Bernie's cucked for endorsing Biden because he doesn't want Trump to win, because Bernie has this ludicrous idea that fascism is bad and fascists shouldn't win. Like, the problem is that there is literally no way to affect change that will earn you the approval of this group of online leftists. It's not possible, you know? They are obsessed with aesthetics and language first and foremost, which means that if they had a president, they would want a president who got nothing done, but who talked every single day about creating a proletarian state. As is the case, you know, if you read Marx, you would know, the real hope for change, of course, is with the actual proletariat, you know, not the collection of like disenfranchised college students and trust fund kiddies that makes up the online Western left. We're talking about the actual working class here, because I guarantee you that the vast majority of unions that are actually operating in this country and working and doing something good, like, they're not online being worthless. You know? It's just disappointing. I think that you guys can do good. I mean, I think I do good. I think you guys can do good. But like, you have to understand that your identity and your aesthetic and the way you present yourself, the way you engage with politics, like, and how that speaks to you and your identity, these are meaningless, you know? The only thing that matters is what can be changed for the better, and if it can be changed, can you do it? Those are the only things that matter. Like, you know, whether or not you come across as the libbiest lib, if you're still getting something positive done, that's good. And thankfully, I think this is a pretty easy tightrope to walk. I don't think it's a tightrope at all. I think it's a well-paved path. I think it's very possible to be left-leaning and also to have a sensible understanding of what's possible, like what you can actually do and what you can take credit for and what isn't possible. You know, I'm just reminded, I will never get over this. To the day I die, I will never forget this one viral tweet that had like 50K likes that was essentially just, if Biden is so pro-trans, then how are all these anti-trans laws getting passed in the United States? And it betrayed such an extraordinary... They win college elections. Nobody turns out for college elections. The only people who win college elections are the people who can convince the most friends to vote for them in the college election. Doesn't matter. Academia is isolating? You're goddamn right, academia is isolating. Here's what I think, okay? If you want to be a good political advocate, here's what I think you should do. You should be doing this if you're in college or onward, so 18 or onward, okay? If you're an adult, whatever. Here's what you have to do. If you're left-leaning and you want to be politically viable, if you want to be useful, here's what you have to do. You have to go outside, I know, tough step one, you have to touch grass, I know, and you have to find someone who is obviously blue-collar. You can find them at a bar, you can find them at a bowling alley. I don't care. You can wherever, okay? And you need to engage in a sensible and civil political conversation with them where you describe more or less what you're into. You can find any context whatsoever in which to do this. You can go deliberately searching for people who are politically minded. You can just go to a bar and strike up a conversation with some guy with a wispy mustache. It doesn't matter to me. And you had better make sense to that guy. Not because he's more stupid than you. He's not necessarily at least. You know, not because he understands less about the world. On the contrary, he probably understands more if you're a college student. But because you don't want your political knowledge, your political mind, to be weighed down by anchors made of historical precedent, obscure niche academic terminology, and bitterly online stupid bullshit. You want your political mind to be refined, to be concerned primarily with terminology and ideas that mean something to regular people, not just people in your niche. And if you can't do that, you're worthless. You are worthless. You suck and you're worthless. You need to do that, okay? I'm not joking. If you are in college and you have any ambitions whatsoever to be politically useful, or even if you're out of college, you better make sure you can do that. Because when I see these lefties online, when I see the way they talk, they could not talk to a blue-collar person. 0% chance. And you know what? I know that I get a little insular when it comes to my terminology to ameliorate, but I went to college in Humboldt State University, now called Cal Poly Tech Humboldt, or whatever the shit university now. It's been going downhill. However, outside of the college students, everyone in the town of Arcata, in which that college or university is centered, is like the most blue-collar guy you can imagine, okay? The town square in Arcata and most of Eureka are packed full of like flannel-wearing, jean jacket-wearing dudes with bushy beards who like work in lumber or whatever. It's just absolutely full, because it's a dying lumber and fishing town, so it's full of those types, you know? So I had conversations with people who are not inclined towards obsessively online political terminology. And, you know, I'd like to think that that helped me significantly when it comes to not being so goddamn head up my ass online today. It's literally the stone toss meme, the I love the working class, well, howdy partner, how are you? Unfortunately, yes. Though the stone toss meme had the working class guy be black, and the implication being that the white lefty couldn't stomach shaking hands with a black person in addition to a working class person. But when it comes to like class dynamics, it is undeniably true that lefties struggle with this. I want to make it clear, by the way, that the working class is not, demographically speaking, white. The working class, demographically speaking, is non-hegemonic. It's brown and black people. It's trans and gay people. It's people who live, you know, it's the white working class narrative was a co-opting by racists, a way of shifting racial dynamics and class dynamics in such a way that they could appeal to white racial insecurities while just you know, dog whistling and making it a class issue. You know, oh, you're alienating the white working class by this with all this BLM stuff. Who the f do you think is marching out there? Rich people? Like all those black people? You think they're all rich? So don't fall for that bullshit. However, let's be real here, okay? While there are many trans college students who are working class, poor, and blue collar, they're not a good litmus test when it comes to determining whether or not your political views are too online or not. You know, I recently went on a date with a trans chick on from Capitol Hill, and just me knowing the demographics involved and the percentages involved, just immediately like use the term Leninist or Marxist-Leninist in conversation, and she was nodding like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, like with no prior assumptions of political knowledge in either direction. And that's because I knew, like, you know, that's, but it's Capitol Hill, so I knew I didn't need to ask. But that's why she's not a good litmus test, nor would any other poor blue-collar trans woman. You want, you know, you want to talk to the salt of the earth type. You know what I'm talking about. So moral of the story, never say you're a commie publicly. I can say it because I am so obviously a leftist YouTuber. I'm not like trying to hide my power level. I'm pretty open. But if you want to change people's minds and affect people's political beliefs, just understand where other people are coming from. Yes, use terminology appropriate to your environment.